Now, one of the hottest places in Paris right now is neither a restaurant or a nightclub. It's Station F, the biggest startup incubator campus in the world. And many of us have heard about how President Emmanuel Macron wants to turn the French capital into Europe's Silicon Valley. Now, joining me in the studio today is rising tech star and the director of Station F, an Iranian-American, Roxanne Varza. Roxanne, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
You have a fascinating story. You were the co-founder of Starter and Tech.eu, previously at TechCrunch France and Microsoft Ventures. But tell me, how did a literature graduate from California end up running a startup campus here in Paris?
Well, I moved from the US about 9 years ago and fell in love with the tech ecosystem in France. I felt there was a lot more to do here than actually what I had seen back in Silicon Valley, where everything existed already and it felt like there was less to build. And so I kind of just really dug in, and I met Xavier Niel, the founder of Station F, at a tech event. We stayed in touch, and once he started getting ready to build Station F, reached out to me and said, "What are your ideas?" And we took it from there. And it was actually a simple conversation.
I'm just amazed you said there that there was a lot more going on here than there was in California. I mean, that doesn't gel with our image of either location.
Well, at the time, there was a lot more to build, which means there was a lot more not going on here, but a lot more opportunity that existed. And today, I think when we compare the two ecosystems, what I've seen happen in France has been a dramatic change from what I remember when I first got here. So you can't even compare what's happening today with what it was 5 years ago.
Many claim, though, that women are starting to sort of lead this tech revolution here in Paris. In fact, I think Forbes magazine recently had an article stating as such. But you know, we've talked about this a lot on this show, that the reality is that women are in danger of being left behind in the digital revolution. So are we at all starting to catch up?
I think that we've seen a huge progression over the last few years. So when I moved to France and when I started Start Her, which was an organization to support and kind of make women more visible in the tech environment, there were very few conferences that we would see women speakers. There were very few startups that we could even name that were founded by women in France. Today, that's not the case. It has changed so radically that I could just list off numerous names of women in funds, women in corporates, women in founding startups. So I think that the situation has really changed. When we look at technical positions, however, tech teams, engineers, the numbers are still relatively low. But elsewhere in the ecosystem, I think we've done a really great job.
And as you say there, the stats are still pretty bleak in some areas. I mean, for instance, in 2017, just 33% of the digital sector here in France, the employees were women. And in 2016, 9% of startups were led by women, female coders just reaching 27%. So what needs to be done to bring those figures up to a situation where parity is at a priority, you know, where there is an equal playing field?
Well, I think a lot of what I have seen actually starts at a very young age. When I was working at Microsoft, we used to bring in young girls about 12, 13 years of age to discover kind of different opportunities in the tech ecosystem. And I remember a lot of them thought working in tech meant being sitting in front of a screen all day long, not interacting with people, and they just found that it was not something that really inspired them. And so I think, you know, that's unfortunate that that is the image that we're showing people, when actually it's a very creative industry. We're building very impressive and powerful tools. We're obviously interacting with people. So I think, you know, there's a disconnect that we really need to change.
What are the dangers, however, if that doesn't happen?
So I think we're going to obviously lose out. People always say, why do we need women at the end of the day? Is it just to say we're diverse and that's the end of it? And actually, no. I think women are also, we have to remember that they're part of the consumer market. So a lot of these tools that we're building actually are for women as well. Women are also a great, human resource in an organization. So to actually say, hey, we don't want to look at 50% of the population, that's really quite silly. And then I also just think that if you put people of the same background together to solve the same problem in the same way, that's not innovation. So if we really want to build something that's innovative, we need different people from different backgrounds.
But there is a problem here in France, isn't there, in terms of equality? I mean, when you compare feminism here in this country compared to, say, the US or the UK or Canada, it has somewhat lagged behind, hasn't it?
In some respects, yes, and in some respects, no. So I think we've actually seen the Me Too movement, which touched a number of different industries, also impacted the tech industry. We had a couple of US prominent investors and prominent entrepreneurs that were kind of called out for their poor behavior. And those kinds of things actually didn't really happen to the same degree in France. So I think yeah, we can say that feminism is treated differently in two countries, but we can also say that the abusive behavior also isn't quite at the same level either.
Roxanne, it's been great speaking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.